Imagine if people found out who you are at home, how you speak to your siblings, how you speak to your parents. Imagine if people found out what your room looks like. Imagine if people found out that you're the dirtiest person on this world. See, for most people, the idea of their personal life, their at-home life being exposed was terrifying. That shows that the person who you are at home and the person that you portray to the rest of the world are not the same person. The fact that there's the fear shows that there's something worth hiding at home. That shouldn't be the case. For someone striving to improve, they should improve all aspects of their life. It's easy to improve yourself for the public world. It's easy to improve yourself for those goals that you want to impress. But is it easy to improve yourself for your siblings, for your parents? See, and I know the dynamic between you and your siblings. Between most siblings, there's this dynamic of being mean to each other. It's an amazing thing that you can be as mean as you want to your sibling, but they will forgive you 20 minutes later. You can say the most rude thing, the most outlandish thing, and 10 minutes later they won't even care. The only people in this world that are going to tolerate your rubbish are your family. And the truth is, you'll never find this dynamic anywhere else. You might find it with a future wife or with your best friend. But even with them, there'll come a point where they just detach themselves and say, I've had enough. If you actually get to the point with your siblings where you're like, I've had enough, then there's something seriously wrong. So though it is beautiful that our family will always forgive us and our family will always pardon us for our rude behavior, it's not what we want. We don't want to exploit the side of our relationships. As I said earlier, it's easy to want to improve for the outside world, but it's not easy to want to improve for your family. When we're doing this self-improvement thing, you should aim to improve in all areas of your life. Not just improving in your financial area, improving in your aesthetics, having a better body. You should aim to have more integrity at home, to be more loving to your siblings. You shouldn't just focus on improving the state of your public life. Your private life, in many ways, and in fact in all ways, is much more important than your public life. Your private life is what determines the satisfaction that you get out of life. You could have all the money in the world, you could have all the public success, but if your family's in tatters, you're going to hate life. If you have no good relationships, you're going to feel lonely. You're going to develop depression and anxiety. And this topic here, it applies to you just as much as it applies to me. See, I am guilty of this very thing. So, my eldest sister, her name is Fadzai, and of course I love her so much. But I think you can all agree that your siblings to you are always the most annoying people. So for a long time, in fact for my whole life, until probably about yesterday when I decided to change my ways, I've been improving every other area except that area. I hadn't been focusing on treating my sister better. I'd often say the rudest things ever to her. Things that I could never imagine saying to anyone else. And I'll say them to her because I knew she would forgive me. And she would do the exact same thing. And I know that you guys probably have this relationship with your siblings. And it's beautiful that you have that. It's amazing that your family will forgive you no matter what you do. But as I said earlier, the goal isn't to exploit this. It's to be grateful for that, but to not get to the point where they have to forgive you for saying such a rude thing. So though the nature of my relationship with my sister is one of annoying each other, it's not something that I condone. When you allow unfiltered thoughts to come out, just because they're your sibling doesn't mean that the rude things that you say aren't going to hurt them. Just because you know they're going to forgive you does not mean that you have the right to say those things. And sometimes this is something that I forget. See, yesterday I was having a very heated debate with my mom and my sister, and we're talking about something that's very emotional to me. And in the heat of that debate, I said something that I shouldn't have said to my sister, and I immediately regretted it. And she forgave me 2 seconds later, but the bottom line is, what I said is something that should have never come out of my mouth. In fact, it's something that I should have never thought about. I urge you to improve your private life, to improve the way that you treat your siblings. We can't take the relationships that we have with our siblings for granted. See, and the truth is, I probably am a bit of a pain for my sister. Whenever she asks me a question, I'm always sarcastic. I'll never answer the question directly. And normally, I'll just be like, I'll act like a smarty pants and be like, oh no, why are you getting upset? Why are you getting upset over what I've said? Meanwhile, I know that I've said something that didn't answer a question and something that would annoy her. So, Fadzai, if you're watching this, yeah, I will be less sarcastic and I'm sorry for the way that I have been acting. Though you know they're gonna forgive you, I urge you to apologize to them and to show gratitude. And I know with your family relationships, it's hard to show your gratitude, to express your love for them. And this is something that I find hard to do. Last night, I decided to write a letter of gratitude for my sister, and I think that's the best thing and the most growth-inducing thing that I've done this month. We take these relationships for granted. The truth is, you don't know when they could be gone. You don't know when you are going to die. You don't know when your siblings are going to die or when your parents are going to die. We all have a limited amount of time on this earth, and we should use it to the best of our abilities and to make sure that every day the people around us know that they're loved. The people around us know that we are grateful for them. Many of you, I'm sure, live in a toxic house where the environment is constantly negative. As a young man, you have to take responsibility. You have to be the one to change that in your household. You have to be the one to take the initiative to write a letter of gratitude for someone, to change the atmosphere, to change the status quo. Look, it's time that we take responsibility for everything in our lives, including the way we treat our siblings. If we want them to treat us better, or if we want less of the negative, like rude conversations, then we should make the change ourselves. In the Bible, Jesus tells us to love your neighbor as thyself. See, we need to apply this into all areas. How you want to be treated by your siblings, treat them that way. In order to receive the love that we desire, we have to be willing to give that love in gracious amounts, to give it without expecting anything in return. I hope you learned something from this video, and I hope you're urged to start treating your siblings better, to show gratitude for your sister, for your brother, for your mom, for your dad. If you're interested in getting more content like this, if you're interested in developing yourself, if you're interested in developing and becoming the best version of yourself, you're in a good place. Leave a like and subscribe. I love you, boys.